take me because I'm going to ask him about whatever he's got. We've got to talk NBA lottery. We've got to talk NBA playoffs. We've got to talk Major League Baseball. We've got so many numbers for the Encyclopedia of Sports to be joining the show. So bringing on my good friend from VSiN, Greg Peterson. What's going on, my friend? You're muted. I can't hear you. Nope, still don't have you. I wish I had a producer. And I would have told you that maybe it's my problem, but I just heard Matt the whole time. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Let's see.
There we go. Got you.
There we go. Perfect. Well, I do appreciate it. And is that changing landscape in baseball right now? Because now you're starting to get everything set there. And in terms of the NBA playoffs, my goodness, it has been wild and crazy the way that we've been seeing these upsets.
Beyond crazy. So speaking of upsets, of course, the Knicks up 2-1 in the series. The Celtics just got game 3 at Madison Square Garden. We've got the start tonight in the Garden again. Well, the New York Garden. Game 4. Thoughts on the Knicks and the Celtics?
It's so interesting because in both of the games in which the Celtics lost, they had a 20-point lead. And you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that as the Boston Celtics peeing down their leg, which they did. Let's call it what it is. But in order to blow a 20-point lead, you have to gain a 20-point lead as well, which we don't want to acknowledge that. But at the same time, there was quite a bit of domination by the Celtics in those first 2 games. I do think that they get the job done on the road in this game. But I would not be willing to lay the 6 right now because I sort of want to see the tenor of the game. And you want to see how the Celtics actually come out in that 3-point shooting because it's been feast or famine for them. We saw it in game number 3. They were white hot. First 2 games, they were ice cold. And I think that this is so important to be doing in the NBA because whether you got the regular season or the playoffs, there's so much volatility in the NBA when it comes to the streakiness of shooting where you can always just find a better number in game. Like if you like the Boston Celtics, you're probably going to be able to get a better number than -6 unless if we see a repeat of what the Cleveland Cavaliers did yesterday, which that's rough. Sometimes you just are going to get those games and you have to hold your shekels and move on when you just don't see what you like. But that said, I do think that you're going to see a little bit of volatility here. If you like the Celtics, you can find a little bit better number there. And something that I did in the first 2 games was when the New York Knicks were just down big, I was able to find a much better plus number in game. Those both obviously hit. Probably should have taken the money line instead, but I always think that that's a good way to be able to play it. So I would lean a little bit to the Knicks here, but again, I would rather wait for a better number in game.
You would think that the Knicks, at least in this spot, will keep the game a little bit closer. You're right. They always seem to find a way to get down. Jason Tatum, a big part, though. He hasn't had a great series. This is exactly what all Celtics fans fear when it comes to Jason Tatum. It's like the Joel Embiid problem where everyone hates him because he can't come up in the big time. Yet Tatum had great numbers, Greg, against the Knicks in the regular season. He went over his 27.5 points prop in both games at the Garden in the regular season. How much could you see Tatum bouncing back, or is it really going to be the role players' jobs?
And I do think that it's a little bit more of the role players' jobs when it comes to Boston Celtics, but it's not like Jason Tatum has been chopped liver here in the postseason. He's been averaging about 26 points per contest. He's still doing a nice job giving you a double-figure amount of rebounds. So overall, he's had a relatively good postseason, but it was a little bit cold in those 2 games that they dropped. And I do think that with Jason Tatum, maybe they went a little bit too far in awarding him Superman 2.0 in that commercial. But same time, I think that he's going to be a little bit of bounce back. I could see him being right around his average, right around about 26, 25 points in this one. Then you get the likes of a Peyton Pritchard to come off the bench, be able to give you some nice threes. And Jaylen Brown has always come up big in the playoffs. That's a guy that I feel like you can bank on.
Yeah, you've got Brunson versus Tatum tonight and seeing who's going to be the Superman of this game because you've got to think it's going to be one of them. Jalen Brunson at the Garden has been absolutely electric this season. Anything else in this game before we go to the night game?
The biggest thing that I'm going to be taking a look at with regards to that total is, again, how does the three-point shooting go early on? Because if you see the Boston Celtics be relatively hot, that's a game that's going to go way over. If you see them go relatively cold, unless if you get some sort of an overtime like we saw earlier in the series, I think that's an under game. So I always think that you can always get really good totals in game as well. And something that I've actually played quite a bit, I did this in the Warriors game on Saturday. When you get sort of a situation where you have a few minutes left and you can just anticipate whether or not there's going to be a sense of urgency or not, being able to take the over/the under there is very big because when a team is down 15 plus points, they're typically going to mail it in. They're just going to hope to have a little bit or better performance 2 to 3 nights from now. Meanwhile, if it's like a 4-point game, a 6-point game with about 90 seconds remaining, you're able to find some really good opportunities to bet the over live.
For the 10 p.m. game here on the East Coast, the Timberwolves at the Warriors, T-Wolves laying 5 on the road. Before we get to any plays you have, what have you noticed in the couple of games that we've seen now without Steph Curry in this series?
That this Golden State Warriors team had no idea what to do without Steph Curry. Really spoke to me that they played 11 players in the first half in that first game, and they were able to figure out their rotations a little bit more. But I think the big question mark is, what are you going to be able to get out of Braden Podziemski? Because with Podziemski, he's been able to do a nice job of being able to go off the ball.
I keep waiting for the Big Pods game.
I'm waiting for it as well because he's been playing a big role with the team, but he hasn't necessarily done a lot of scoring. He's done like everything except for scoring for the team. Like if you've been looking at his over in terms of his assist props, that's actually been doing really well for you, but he just hasn't been able to go off and be able to go into inferno mode. But the one guy that I've really liked what I've seen out of him, and he had himself a nice big game a few nights ago, Jonathan Kuminga. The way that guy has been able to step up has really been speaking to me. And I think that he could be the difference maker in terms of whether or not the Warriors are able to cover this spread or not. I personally am feeling a little bit bearish right now, just with Steph Curry being out of the fold. It has been such a rough go of it for the Warriors. They have no consistency whatsoever. And to the credit of the Warriors, this has actually been a really good defensive expose from them. Like to have Steph Curry out of the fold and for them to play defense the way that they did in game number 3 really spoke to me. Just tells you where this offense is at. And even though the total is so low at like a 200, I just can't see a way in which I take this over unless I get in game and you get like a really low total and you get a nice discount on it.
How would you play the game tonight?
If anything, I'd be looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. You hope that it's a relatively even up first half, so that way you can maybe get that instead of -6 that we're seeing right now down to like a -3.5, -4. But if I had to play this right now, I would be looking at the Timberwolves because I just don't trust in guys not named Steph Curry on the Warriors. We all know about playoff Jimmy and everything like that. And Jimmy Butler has been solid in this series, but Jimmy Butler is not at the point where he's able to do it all by himself. And I think that for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, by far being the best player out there on the floor, that's just massive in a game where even if it's like a 2-point game, 4-point game with a few minutes remaining, we saw that in game number 3 where the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to pull away. And the only reason why that game was a push was Jonathan Kuminga hits a prayer 3 with like a second remaining.
The Cavs also, and that game is tomorrow, the Cavs and Pacers at 7 p.m. Eastern. Right now, the Cavs are still laying 7.5. However, I just saw Donovan Mitchell with his ankle injury listed as questionable for Tuesday. How do we play this series going further with all these Cavs injuries, Greg?
I think that you do very much have to be playing it game to game because you just don't know what you're going to get out of the Cavaliers moving forward. And I'm very much an in-game bettor, but I don't know how you lay 8 points here with the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially after what we saw last night. And the Pacers, I just feel like they've been so disrespected over the last few months. If you look at their metrics really ever since Christmas, they've been a top 4, top 5 team in the NBA, especially with regards to their offense. Recognize that the defense leaves a little bit of something to be desired. And for how much we talk about Tyrese Halliburton, how about Pascal Siakam being a Swiss Army knife, giving you exactly what you need, good scoring, good rebounding, good defense. He's just been a guy that I feel like has gotten disrespected in the NBA landscape in general. Now he's finally starting to get his flowers for what the Pacers have done thus far in the playoffs. And it's just one of those cases where with so many question marks with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I just can't trust in them until further notice.
Greg, the West just seems so strong between the Nuggets, the Thunder, the T-Wolves. Sure, the Warriors if they get Steph back. The East feels like whoever wins this Celtics-Knicks series is the team that probably should be favored to go to the NBA Finals with all the injuries on the Cavs. I know you mentioned the Pacers being disrespected. If there was a bet between Western Conference versus Eastern Conference, I know it's out there, I just don't know the odds right now, but the West versus the East to win the NBA Finals, the West has to be it, no?
Yeah, I would certainly be going with the West. Unless if you get like an injured Steph Curry Warriors, then you're looking at something completely different. But odds of that happening are so slim. And by that point, you would be having Steph Curry back in the fold. I've been saying it about the West all season long as well. It just feels like it's the invitation of the OKC Thunder who's going to be facing them. And you do have to have your question marks with the OKC Thunder as well, just because it does feel like that lack of experience does come through a little bit from time to time, but metrically, they've been the best team in the NBA this season. With what they've been able to get out of their young guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander proving that he's a top 5 player in the NBA right now. That has been so impactful to me. So, if you get the Nuggets versus the Celtics, I'd be taking the Nuggets in that series. I would certainly be taking the OKC Thunder in that series. I don't know if I could quite do it with the Golden State Warriors, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are another team that I think that they would have the best player out there on the floor, and Anthony Edwards. I would side with them as well.
You look at the NBA Finals odds, and you've got the Thunder at plus 130 as your favorite, the Celtics 2-1, the T-Wolves then at 9-1, and then the Pacers 14-1, Cavs 14-1, Knicks 18-1. Greg, it's just crazy to think that we've seen the Celtics look pretty exposable in this series against the Knicks. So to be 2-1, I get it, but they're exposable.
Yeah, they certainly are. And the only reason why you're getting that number is that they've got such an easier road than all those Western Conference teams. So by default, they should be able to make the finals. But again, we've seen them have their issues here with the New York Knicks. And what we see here tonight is so impactful, because if the Knicks are able to take this game, then the Celtics are very much on the ropes. Then is when you'd want to be betting the Boston Celtics. If you trust in, shall we say, shock quality, shall we say just positive regression in terms of their three-point shooting. But I do agree with you, because with the Celtics as well, there's just no banking on that positivity coming, because they take so many shots that if you're just so ice cold, I believe that can manifest itself. It gets into these guys' head. And I feel like that's what happened towards the back half of game number 1 into game number 2.
It's just crazy. You say that the Pacers are disrespected, yet they're sitting there at 14-1, the second shortest odds to win the NBA Finals amongst the Eastern Conference teams. The Knicks are at 18-1, and they're up 2-1 in this series with a game tonight at Madison Square Garden against the Celtics. It just shows you how much the book is still so high on the Celtics and so low on the Knicks.
And it also speaks to this as well, the exposure that they have on the Boston Celtics as well. I think that that's a big thing that needs to be taken into account as well, because there have been a lot of books that have taken a lot of money on the Celtics throughout the year. And if they hang that number too low, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that just hammer the Boston Celtics knowing, oh, all right, we're getting a nice discount here. And they don't want to be offering that discount. So I think that there's a little bit in play with that regard as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Very good point. Anything that you like in Major League Baseball, Greg?
Oh, absolutely. We've got ourselves a great slate of games, which, by the way, the fact that we had no day games today and we have no day games tomorrow, that is absolutely ridiculous. That needs to be addressed by Major League Baseball. I'm going to make that known right now, but I do like myself a few underdogs on the card. Yes, the Detroit Tigers, you're able to get them as a very, very slight underdog against the Red Sox. I just am not trusting in Tanner Houck whatsoever. Since the All-Star break in 2024, this guy has not been the same. And Jackson Jobe, I recognize that he's not necessarily the world's greatest pitcher, but if you get Tanner Houck and Jackson Jobe to go even up, who do you trust more, the Red Sox bullpen or the Detroit Tigers bullpen? Give me the Detroit Tigers bullpen all day, every day there. And then with regards to what we're going to be seeing out there a little bit later on, I do think that you've got a little bit of value on the San Francisco Giants, even though Justin Verlander is not.
He hasn't gotten a win, right? Or he hasn't had a win yet this year, or maybe just one.
I think that he had one a little bit earlier on, but for Justin Verlander, he's pitched much better ever since the first 2 or 3 starts of the season, and I just don't trust Merrill Kelly on the road. Like, you look at Merrill Kelly's career numbers when he's at home versus when he's on the road, it's night and day different.
Yeah.
At home, he's got a career 3.25 ERA, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. On the road, that balloons up to a 4.47 for 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and it goes back to the bullpens for me as well. I feel like when you're betting baseball, if you're a first 5 person, you take out the bullpens, you look squarely at the starting pitching. If you're going to go full game, you better be evaluating these bullpens. You better be on these rotations. You better be on the amount of rest/not rest that these bullpens are having. And for the Giants, they have been a top 6 bullpen all season long. Bunch of long guys like Randy Rodriguez, Hayden Birdsong coming through for them, and Camilo Duvall looking so much better this year. And AJ Puck being up for the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think is a big factor for them as well. So that's a big reason why I did take the Giants here on the money line.
So MLB said Justin Verlander is searching for his first victory in his 9th start with the Giants. He is sitting at 262 career wins, the most among active pitchers. So he, in his last 4 starts, Verlander has a 2.70 ERA. He's pitched well. He hasn't gotten a win. The Giants won't win for him. It's crazy.
It has been, and I think that turns around tonight, though. I think that they get to Merrill Kelly again, who it just hasn't been quite the same on the road, and sometimes you just have that as well, and that's why, because you do such great work with regards to props, yes, no, in order for a pitcher to be able to get a win, I always think it's so dicey, because you could have that ace go out there, give you 6 scoreless innings, 7 scoreless innings, and you don't eat your bet because the schlubs around him do absolutely nothing.
That's why a public bettor who's going to go see that bet, who doesn't really think about it, you get such great value a lot of the times on those wins or to get a win or not bet, because there's so many variables. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want to rely. It's kind of like completions in the NFL, Greg, where you're betting on passing completions for a quarterback. Why wouldn't I just do pass attempts? I just want the intent to be there for them to throw the football. I don't want it to have to rely on a wide receiver. Get out of here.
Yep,
No
exactly.
way.
Especially when you get in those cold weather games and you got a good case of the Butterfingers for your main wide receiver, something like that. I think that that's such a big way to take a look at it. Just don't take a look at as many variables that are outside that pitcher. Just look at that pitcher in terms of like strikeouts, how far they're going to be able to go into the game. Don't bank on yes, no wins, because the pitcher in this day and age is not betting unless if their name is Shohei Ohtani, and he's currently not pitching.
Correct. So before I let you go, speaking of a lot of variables, there are a lot of variables in the NBA draft lottery tonight, which is at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This is my problem. My good friend Julian Edlow from DraftKings posted this today about the team to draft Cooper Flagg. Of course, once we find out who the first pick is, we'll know. But what would you say about who's going to draft Cooper Flagg? Who do you think is getting that number 1 pick?
Well, you got the top 3 teams over there with the Wizards, the Jazz, and the Hornets. They've all got an equal amount of ping pong balls, and it's just one of those cases where this is not bettable just because these are fixed odds. Like, there's no way that you can really find an advantage unless if you know that there's some sort of a trade secret, or that back in the day, the Patrick Ewing, like, frozen ball or like frozen card or something like that. There's really no way of being able to do so, because whoever gets the number 1 overall pick, they get their ping pong ball drawn tonight. That's who's going to be drafting Cooper Flagg. So, the best case scenario is you're able to find some team that is maybe a little bit of a long shot that isn't one of those top 3, and they're able to cash in there. But I think the biggest thing that you can do is just play the fixed odds, wait to see how it pans out, and that's the team that's going to be drafting Cooper Flagg. I wish I had more for you, but it's just so tough with you knowing how many different combinations there are.
Mid-Major Matt has a theory that the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic because they're going to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
That would be interesting. And if Cooper Flagg goes to Dallas, that would be a great scenario for him. Trust me, I don't think that the NBA wants to be sending him to like Utah or Charlotte. I do think that would be quite wild if that happened.
Right. Like, if he goes to Charlotte, you've got LaMelo Ball over there. You've got, and I guess you still have like Miles Bridges over. Like, it's just not a good team, not a well-run organization. But you've already had all these these young stars go there, and nothing's happened. It's just a mess.
Yeah, it really has been. The fact that you had Michael Jordan a part of the ownership group, now shout out to him. He's going to be doing some broadcasts apparently for NBC. That's going to be great. But the fact that he was bailing on them, that's all you need to know right there.
Before I let you go, where would you say is the best fit for Cooper Flagg?
Well, if he could somehow, some way land on the San Antonio Spurs, that would be amazing. Like, could you imagine Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg on the same team? That would be amazing. And plus, they've got De'Aaron Fox as well. Obviously, a changing of guard with no more Greg Popovich, but that'd be great. Obviously, those teams at the bottom, even the Atlanta Hawks, I know that people are jaded on Trae Young. They've got a very, very slim percentage of being able to get the pick here, but that would be great. And the Sacramento Kings as well, with all of their young talent, that would be amazing as well. But wherever Cooper Flagg is going to be going, he's going to be incredible. He is going to be tearing up the NBA. We saw what he was able to do in college. This guy is a one-of-one unicorn that, any one of these 14 teams, they instantly become a playoff contender right when he gets out there on the court.
So does this team, because I'm going to give you one more. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his odds are on DraftKings. Greg, where is he going? Is he staying?
Well, I am someone from the great state of Wisconsin, and I actually lean to him staying just because I've been able to see the press clippings over the past decade or so. Everyone that I know that went to college with myself, they cover the Milwaukee Bucks, and he really does like being that big fish in a small pond. He's already stayed multiple times before. Obviously, the Dame Lillard situation, him going down with all the health issues towards back half of the season, that was a little bit less than tremendous, but he truly loves the great state of Wisconsin. I mean, we saw when he was a rookie and everything like that, talking about how shakes were amazing and everything like that. And he just seems like a humble, down-to-earth guy that is not going to be bolting for some sort of a giant market. So I actually would go with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, Greg Peterson says that Giannis is staying in Milwaukee, and he's got some great action on the board tonight. Make sure to check him out over at VSiN. You have a show tonight, Greg?